Hi, everyone. I'm Thérèse, and this is New York Girl Again, The After, the podcast for caregivers who have survived the hardest chapter of their lives and are now gathering both the courage and the strength to write the next one. I'm so grateful to be walking this road with you. Last week, we talked about what happens after survival strength runs dry, and why learning how to build sustainable strength is essential in the after. This week, I want to talk about what comes next. Because when survival ends and you're learning how to live sustainably, the next must-have skill is this: learning how to hold yourself again. Not push, not power through, not override, but simply staying with yourself. So, what do I mean by holding yourself? As caregivers, we weren't experts at holding someone else. We held their schedules, their medications, their appointments, their fears, their pain, their dignity, their lives. I remember so many nights sleeping in half-hour increments, listening for late-night wandering, mentally tracking to-do lists, medications, and symptoms, even while my eyes were closed. My body never powered down. It just waited. As caregivers, we learn how to stay steady, no matter how intense things become. But after caregiving ends, I don't think there's a single one of us who says, now I'll turn that skill inward. Most of us wouldn't even know how. So when I talk about holding yourself, this is what I mean. Being able to stay present with your own emotions without overriding them. Being able to sit with discomfort without rushing to fix it or escape it or push it down. Being able to pause instead of bracing for impact. Holding yourself is what allows you to feel without falling apart and to move forward without abandoning yourself. Caregivers are high-capacity people. We are excellent at containment, just not for ourselves. During caregiving, your nervous system learned one rule: stay alert, stay ready, stay ahead. There was no space to process emotions in real time. No room to collapse, no allowance for uncertainty. So your body learned to hold everything in, just to keep functioning. That wasn't a choice. It was necessity. It was adaptation. But when caregiving ends, that containment system dissolves, and suddenly, emotions can no longer be buried. They feel overwhelming. This is why, when our caregiving journeys end, so many of us say things like, I feel like I'm falling apart. After my own 25-year caregiving journey ended, I remember thinking, I handled emergencies, hospitals, impossible decisions, and now I can't even handle a normal day. My body and my mind were standing down right before my eyes, because the system that once held everything together is no longer running. And now we're forced to learn how to hold ourselves for the very first time. So what happens when we don't learn how to hold ourselves? When the containment system that carried us through caregiving shuts down, there is a moment of real vulnerability. And this is where many caregivers get scared. Because without survival mode running, everything feels exposed. All the sadness, the pain, the fear we learned to push down for so long begins to rise to the surface. So what do we tend to do? We distract, we overwork, we stay busy, we reach for goals, routines, anything that promised to make us feel solid again. On the outside, it can look like motivation, like progress, like getting back on track. But underneath, it's often another form of bracing. It's survival trying to reassert itself. And when we skip learning how to hold ourselves, our emotions start to feel like a threat instead of information. Learning how to hold yourself is what creates internal safety. It teaches your nervous system that you can feel without falling apart, and that you can move forward without abandoning yourself again. So what can holding ourselves look like? Well, it looks like pausing when something feels overwhelming, instead of pushing yourself through it. It looks like letting an emotion move through you without judging it, fixing it, or trying to make it stop. It looks like saying, "This is hard, and I can stay with it." It looks like resting without explaining why. And most importantly, it looks like talking to yourself the same way you once spoke to the person you cared for, with patience, with reassurance, with presence. So here's what I want you to try this week. When something feels overwhelming, ask yourself, what would help me feel steadier right now? Not fixed, not stronger, just what will make you feel steadier? Then respond gently. Maybe that means stepping away. Maybe it means resting. Or maybe it means saying no. These small choices are how we relearn how to hold ourselves and how we begin to come back to ourselves again. Learning how to hold yourself is the foundation for everything that's coming next. And right now, that matters more than momentum. Next week, we'll talk about what happens when steadiness begins to return and how to rebuild trust with your own body after everything it has carried. For now, practice holding yourself the way you once held everyone else, with patience, presence, care, and love. I'm Thérèse, and this is New York Girl Again, The After. I'll see you next week, and until then, be gentle with yourself. And remember, you are stronger than you think.